Fair use, it's your boy Peru. Alright, today we're going to be going into the understanding of the tabernacle, the things that was contained inside of the tabernacle, and the service that the priest would do upon the things that was contained inside the tabernacle that led into the divine presence of our Creator. Alright, because this is what we ought to be trying to do, get to the divine presence of the Creator. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so we're going to get a little bit of history of the tabernacle, alright? It say, according to the Hebrew Bible, the tabernacle, Mishkan, meaning residence or dwelling place, also known as the tent of the congregation, alright? Also, tent of meetings, was the portable earthly dwelling place of the Most High God, used by the children of Israel from the Exodus until the conquest of Canaan. So this tabernacle was used by the children of Israel, alright? I'm going to jump down here right here. It say, Moses was instructed at Mount Sinai to construct and transport the tabernacle with the Israelites on their journey through the wilderness and a subsequent conquest of the promised land. So this tabernacle was to be taken with the children of Israel on a journey. Anywhere they was to go, the tabernacle was to be taken with them. Alright. Understand that this earthly tabernacle is a guideway into your spiritual tabernacle. Alright. So this layout of this earthly tabernacle was to show you how to build your inner or your spiritual dwelling or your spiritual tabernacle up. Okay, so the layout of the earthly tabernacle was a guide way to build up your spiritual tabernacle. Okay, so we're going to go into the things that was placed inside of this tabernacle. So jumping over here. So the first thing we have that was inside of the tabernacle was the altar of sacrifice. The second being a bronze lever. Then we got the menorah. Then we got the table of the showbread. Then we have the altar of incense. Then the ark of the covenant. So these 6 things was put in place for the priest to do service on that will eventually lead them into the divine presence of the Most High. And there spoke he with them face to face. Alright, so we're going to get a little history of the service that the priest would have to do on these 6 things before they came into the divine presence of the Most High, starting first with the altar of sacrifice. So let's go ahead and get into it. So coming over here, we're going to get the importance, alright? So we ain't going to read everything, so we just get a little piece. Okay, so over here, we're just going to read this first part. It say altars. A place of slaughter or sacrifice in the Hebrew Bible was typically made of earth. Exodus 20 and 24. I want y'all to remember this. This altar was made of earth because we're going to talk about this on the second part to this video, which is the spiritual tabernacle, okay? I want to jump down here to the next little piece I want to catch inside this tab, which is in the tabernacle. So now we're talking about the servitude that the priest would do upon this altar. So let's say when Moses consecrated the tabernacle in the wilderness, he sprinkled the altar of burnt offering with the anointing oil 7 times. Leviticus chapter 8, verse 10 through 11. And purified it by anointing its 4 horns with the blood of a bullock offered as a sin offering. So this altar was used to sacrifice a bullock as a sin offering, alright? It say, and poured the blood at the bottom of the altar and sanctified it to make reconciliation upon it. So that's Leviticus chapter 8, verse 14 through 15. So understand the importance is one would have to make a sacrifice for the remission of sin. This is the first thing that the priest had to do inside this earthly tabernacle, alright? So I want you to remember this also. When the priest poured the blood at the bottom of the altar of the sacrifice that they had made. So remember that because the same blood will be used in later servitudes that the priest would have to do inside this tabernacle, alright? Alright, so coming over here to the next tab, alright? We're going into the bronze lever. It say the instruction given to Moses in the book of Exodus, including the creation of a bronze lever to be seated outside of the tabernacles of meeting between the tabernacle door and the altar of burnt offerings. For Aaron and his sons and their successors as priests to wash their hands and their feet before committing any priestly service. Alright, so before they was to go into the holy place, they was to wash their hands and their feet because this after they made the sacrifice. Alright, come back over here to this tab. You can see the outer court, alright, or the court of the tabernacle. Then you can see the holy place, the tabernacle. Alright, so this is the holy place. Okay, see the menorah right there. This is the next thing we're going to be getting into, the menorah. So coming over here to this tab. Alright, so now we over here at the menorah. Say the menorah is described in the Bible as the 7 lamps, ancient Hebrew lampstand made of pure gold, and used it in the portable sanctuary set up by Moses in the wilderness and later in the temple of Jerusalem. Fresh olive oils of the purest quality was burnt daily to light its lamps. Alright, so now we see that the menorah had to be burnt daily. So now we're going to go into the importance why. Alright, so coming down here to the constructions. It say the Hebrew Bible states that God revealed the design for the menorah to Moses and describes the constructions of the menorah as follows. Exodus chapter 25 verse 31 through 40. Alright, but we're going to go into the main verse that I want to read, so we're going to jump to 37. Verse 37 say, then make it 7 lambs and set them up on it so that they light the space in front of it. Alright, when we come back over here to the tab of the tabernacle, we see that the menorah is on the south, which is the bottom. And we see that the table of the 12 showbreads is on the north. So the space that's in front of the menorah is the table of the 12 showbreads. So the menorah was to give light unto the table of the 12 showbreads. Alright. Okay. So we done went into 3 things. The first thing being the altar of burnt offerings, which a sacrifice was to be made for the remission of sins. The second was the bronze laver, which was used for the washing of the priests after the sacrifice was made for purification. Alright, before they enter into the holy place. The third thing took place inside of the holy place, which was to light the menorah that was to shine upon the fourth, which is the table of the 12 showbreads. So now we're going into the next tab, which is the table of the showbread. Okay, so now we over here at the tab of the showbread. It say right here, it say showbread, bread of the presence in the KJV, shewbread. In a biblical or Jewish context, refer to the case or the loaves of bread, which were always present on a specially dedicated table. Alright, it say in the temple of Jerusalem as a offering to God. Okay, so these 12 breads or these 12 cakes was to always be present on the table. Alright, so remember that, because I will talk more about this in a later video. Alright, so these 12 loaves was to always be present on the table. So this is the fourth thing that a priest would have to do, have to make sure these breads or these loaves was present on this table. Alright, so now we're going into the fifth thing, which we can come and see over here in the tab of the tabernacle, which is the altar of incense. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it. So come back over here under altars. And we're going to go down into altar of incense. Okay, so now we over here at the altar of incense. It say the second altar was the altar of incense. Exodus 30 verse 1 through 10. Also call it the golden altar. Okay, 39 verse 38. Alright, Numbers chapter 4 verse 11. In the inner altar stood inside in the holy place before the veil that is before the ark of the covenant. Alright, so coming down here, it say the offerings of incense was the apex of the daily morning and evening service. According to Rabbi, this was the part of the temple service that was most beloved by God. The burning of the incense was symbolic of the prayers of the people rising up to God. Psalms 141 verse 2, Revelation chapter 5 verse 8, Revelation chapter 8 verse 3 through 4. Alright, so you go check that out. It say the offerings of incense had to take place after the sacrifice, because only after atonement could communion with God take place. Alright, so after the offering of incense, the priest pronounced the priestly blessing upon the people. Alright, so the burning of incense was the fifth thing that the priest would have to do before they enter into the holies of holies, where the ark of the covenant is, which is the sixth thing. Alright, so now we're gonna go over here to the holies of holies. Okay, so now we over here at the holies of holies. Alright, so it say right here, the holies of holies is a term in the Hebrew Bible that refers to the inner sanctuary of the tabernacle where God's presence appeared. Alright, so now we're dealing with the divine presence of the Creator. Alright, say this area was defined by 4 pillars which hold up the veil of the covering, under which the ark of the covenant was held above the floor. Alright, so this is where the ark of the covenant at. Alright, this is your 16. Alright, the ark, according to the Hebrew scriptures, contained the 10 commandments which was given by God to Moses on Mount Sinai. Alright, so this is where the ark of the covenant was. So, alright, so coming over here to the next tab, we're going into the ark of the covenant. Alright, so now we're going to come over here to the Wikipedia of the ark of the covenant. So jumping over here to the next tab, we had the Ark of the Covenant. Alright, it say the Ark of the Covenant, also known as the Ark of the Testimony, and in few verses across various translations as the Ark of God. It say is a gold covered wooden chest with lid covering, described in the book of Exodus as containing the 2 stone tablets of the 10 commandments. And according to various texts within the Hebrew Bible, it is also containing Aaron's rod and a pot of manna. Hebrews chapter 9 and 4 describes the Ark of the Covering was covered on all sides with gold, and in which was a golden jar holding the manna and Aaron's rod which budded in the tablets of the covenant. Alright, this lid cover that's described in the book of Exodus is known as the mercy seat. Alright, so jumping down here, say God was said to have spoken to Moses from between the 2 chariots of the ark's covering, which is the mercy seat. Alright, so we're gonna jump down, coming down here to biblical account, and we're gonna read right here. I'm going to start right here. Say a golden lid, the copperit, translated as mercy seat or cover, which is covered it with 2 chariots, is to be placed it above the ark. Say missing from the accounts are instructions concerning the thickness of the mercy seat and the details about the chariots. Other than that, the cover be beaten out of the ends of the ark, and that they form the space where God will appear. Alright, so going over here to the tab of the mercy seat. So now we over here at the tab of the mercy seat. Let's say according to the Hebrew Bible, the copperit or mercy seat was the gold lid placed on the ark of the covenant, with 2 chariots beaten out of the ends, say, to cover and create the space into which the Most High was said to appear. Alright, so coming down here. So we're going to read over here. It say Exodus 25 verse 19. Also Exodus 37 and 6. Alright, I'm going to start right here. Say the ark and the mercy seat was, according to these passages, kept inside of the holies of holies, the temple innermost sanctuary. Alright, so that's the innermost sanctuary, the holies of holies. Say which was separated from the remaining of the temple by a thick curtain, because the ark and the mercy seat was associated with the presence of the Most High. Alright. The account also states that 2 golden statues of chariots was placed at each end of the covering, facing one another, and the mercy seat, say with their wings spread in order to enclose the mercy seat. Exodus chapter 25 verse 18 through 21. Say according to the book of Samuel, these chariots together formed a seat for the Most High. Alright. 1 Samuel chapter 4 verse 4. Alright, so coming down here. Alright, so according to the biblical directions, they say the holies of holies can only be entered on the Day of Atonement. Saying even then could only be entered by the high priest, who was covered it to do so. So in order to sprinkle the blood of a sacrificial bull onto the mercy seat. Alright. Now the blood that was stored under the altar of sacrifice, this is the same blood that the priest will have to put upon the mercy seat that is upon the ark. Alright. So this was the 6th thing that the priest had to do that led them into the divine presence of the Creator. Right? So also this blood that the priest will put upon the mercy seat was accepted as an atonement from himself and his family, the other priests, the tabernacle, and the people of Israel, or the congregation of Israel. The direction specified that incense was first burnt in the holies of holies, so that a cloud rose up and appeared upon the cover of the ark, basically upon the mercy seat. So before the priest will come and sprinkle the blood upon the mercy seat, the incense that came out of the holy place rose up above the veil into the holies of holies and created a cloud. This cloud rose up upon the mercy seat, alright, which is upon the ark. So that's when the priest came and sprinkled the blood upon the mercy seat, and the presence of the Most High came upon the mercy seat and spoke to the priest face to face. Alright, so now we're going into the pillar of cloud, dealing with the divine presence of our Creator. Alright, speaking to us face to face and leading us in the way. So starting right here, say a pillar of cloud was one of the manifestations of the presence of the God of Israel in the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses, which appear at the beginning of the Old Testament Bible. They say according to Exodus, the pillar of cloud guided the Israelites by day during the exile or the exodus from Egypt. Alright, so that's important. It's something that we have to think about, that this pillar of cloud led them in the way. Alright. They say the pillar of cloud is traditionally paired with the manifestation of the divine presence, which is known as the Shekinah, meaning the dwelling or settling. Alright. They say with the divine presence by night as the pillar of fire which provided light. This was so that they could travel by day or night. Alright. Okay, so coming down here, we're gonna go into some biblical accounts concerning the Most High leading us in a way and speaking to us face to face. Okay, so coming down here to the book of Exodus chapter 13 verse 21 through 22. It say by day the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so that they can travel by day or night. Neither the pillar of cloud by day nor the pillar of fire by night left its place from in front of the people. So this cloud is stayed with us, it guided us, it showed us the way which we should take. Alright. So the book of Deuteronomy chapter 1 verse 33 let the Israelites know why that this cloud went before them. So it states right here, say, who went in the way before you to search you out a place to pitch your tents in. So this cloud went before you to find you a dwelling or settlement for you to pitch your tents in. It say, and fire by night to show you which way you should go, and in the cloud by day. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and get into the book of Psalms chapter 99 verse 7. So this is the book of Psalms chapter 99 verse 7. It say, in a pillar of cloud he then spoke to them. So the Most High communed with us face to face. Say they kept his testimonies and his statutes he gave them, and he also gave us his testimony and his statutes. Alright, so this is the book of Nehemiah chapter 9 verse 12. It say, by day You led them in a pillar of cloud, and by night in a pillar of fire, to give them light on the way they was to take. Nehemiah chapter 9 verse 19. Because of your great compassion, you did not abandon them in the desert. So the Most High did not abandon them. By day the pillar of cloud did not cease to guide them on their path, say, nor the pillar of fire by night to shine on the way which they was to take. Alright, so coming back up here, we're going to the last one. It's the book of Numbers chapter 14 verse 14. Alright, it's the book of Numbers chapter 14 verse 14. And they will tell the inhabitants of this land about it, and say, they have already heard that you, O Lord, are with these people, and that you, O Lord, have been seen face to face, that your cloud stayed over them, and that you go before them in a pillar of cloud by day and in a pillar of fire by night. Okay, so meditate on these scriptures and think about how much the Most High loves us, how much you want to be with us, and how much you want to commune with us face to face and guide us on the way we are to take. But for a time, because of transgression, he hid his face from us. But the time is coming that the Creator is about to visit his people and guide them, alright? This will happen after a remnant build up the inner tabernacle, according to the layout of the physical tabernacle, but not according to all the deeds that took place, because we're not going to be dealing with the sharing of blood. But once the remnant build up the inner tabernacle, the Most High is going to gather them and receive them unto his mercy. So understanding that, we can come over here to 2 Maccabees chapter 2, and we're going to start at verse 4. Alright, so coming down, going down to verse 4. So this is 2 Maccabees chapter 2 verse 4. It is also contained in the same writings that the prophet, being warned of the Most High, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him, as he went forth into the mountains, when Moses climbed it up and saw the inhabitants of the Most High. Verse 5. And when Jeremiah came thither, he found a hollow cave, wherein he laid the tabernacle, the ark, and the altar of incense, and so stopped to heat the door. Alright, so Jeremiah had hid the tabernacle, the altar of incense, and the ark of the covenant inside this cave. Verse 6. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it. Which when Jeremiah perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for this place, it should be unknown, it should be sacred. Alright. Until the time that God gathered his people, this is the remnant that I was talking about, again together and received them unto mercy. So once the Most High received this remnant unto mercy, verse 8, then should the Lord show them these things. So this is where we're going to find the tabernacle, the altar of incense, and the ark of the covenant. Okay, so notice it did not name the altar of sacrifice, the bronze lever, the menorah, or the table of the showbreads. So when the Most High show us with his tabernacle mat and the altar of incense and the ark of the covenant, we will not be dealing with no sacrifice. No altar equals no sacrifice. So if your hand's not full of blood and your feet's not full of blood, for the blood falling on the floor, you stepping all over the blood, it's no need for you to wash your hands and your feet. Well, you know, it's always a need for you to wash your hands and your feet, but you get what I'm saying. So that's why it's no need for the bronze lever, alright? And that's for the menorah. The menorah is a representation of the 7 rays or the 7 lights that we must activate within ourselves, which I will speak more about on the heavenly tabernacle according to the Spirit on part 2 to this video. And these 7 lights, as we stated earlier, were to shine upon the table of the 12 showbread, which is the hearts of the 12 tribes, alright, in which we also going to be speaking about in part 2 to this video. Okay, so going back to verse 8, it say, then should the Lord show them these things, and the glory of the Lord should appear, and the cloud also. So here go the Most High coming to commune with us face to face. As it was shown there under Moses, say, as when Solomon desired that that place may be honorably sanctified. Okay, so go ahead and meditate on these scriptures and understand that the presence of our Creator is near to come. Alright, so with that being said, I want to come over here to the book of Joel. And we're going to start at it's the book of Joel, chapter 2. We're going to start at verse 1. It say, blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in the holy mountains. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble. For the day of the Lord cometh. Say, for it is nigh at hand. Alright, so this is what we're talking about. The day of the Lord. The Lord coming to visit his people. It say, a day of darkness and of gloominess. A day of clouds and of thick darkness. It say, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people, a strong. There hath not been ever the like. Neither should there be any more after it. Say, even to the years of many generations. Verse 3. A fire devoured before them, and behind them a flame burned it. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yeah, and nothing shall escape. Alright. So this is what we're looking forward to. We're looking forward to Most High guiding us into the garden. Alright. Guiding us into the garden, taking us away from these wilderness or these desolate places. Okay, so with that being said, I would like to say all praises to the Creator. This information right here, man, is very powerful. Please take notes of everything. Get prepared for the spiritual understanding of your tabernacle. Get prepared to build your inner tabernacle up so the Most High can receive you into His mercy and He can lead you into the spot where Jeremiah had these things at, okay? And I would like to also say one more time, all praise to our divine Creator, peace and light, the ascend life, okay? Because that's what it's all about. Peace.